Thank you. Guess, I mean, my only question is why petitioner have you guys not tried for rezone, knowing that that would just end this, any debate once and for all?
I think initially, conversation goes back about 3 years. When we first started, your ordinance was in the process of being revised and updated. So the suggestion was, well, let's do a use variance. It kind of fits in with what's going here. Your ordinance and zoning map have been updated since that point. Moved the overlay district. The overlay district was partially the challenge. We first started talking about this. So I mean, we worked with, part of it is the suggestion of staff to work through this. I always suggest to folks, part of what you're getting with the variance is you know what you're getting, you know the use that's coming in, versus an open-ended rezoning or PUD or some zoning with conditions where you're narrowing down the use instead of with the variance. This is what can be this can be built, permitted, versus any other use in that zoning classification, which the city council, planning commission, city council may not want at that location. So kind of, it is a choose your own adventure a little bit, and you get to it. And I've generally found that if there's uses in the zoning classification that would not be desired, that my client's proposed uses, the variance allows you to narrowly tailor it. So this is the only additional use that's allowed. So that's I think how we started. Granted, that was before Gabe was planning director. So we've been through the change in the zoning ordinance and a change in planning staff through this process, but we'll continue down that road based on conversation with the staff.
Ms. Peters?
No questions.
So that actually, Mr. King, was the same question I had, and I guess from your perspective, planning staff, I mean, they could go through a rezone and the same result would end up, but it would just be from the council at that point, correct?
Correct. They could request a zone map change for one of our zones that allows for vehicular gasoline with convenience sales. What comes with that zone would be anything else that is allowed in that zoning district. Example, the first time they came through, it was geared towards a truck stop. Well, if you rezone up to IL, there's a lot more than just a truck stop that would come with it. And as was mentioned, the ball was kind of rolling when current staff that's here took it over. And we've been working with them to make sure that the traffic study's been updated and so forth. But yeah, there are two different ways you can go about this. This was the one that we were working on, kind of following up from the first time you had seen them.
So clarify what I heard. If when we get the next size up rezoning classification, it could open it right back up to being a truck stop as well.
So IL does not allow, I'll check my use table, but IL does not allow for any gas station aside from a truck stop. But right now they are specifically asking for vehicular convenience with vehicular gasoline with convenience sales. And that is allowed in our commercial large and a commercial medium zone. Retail convenience with gasoline, that is allowed in their zone. And it is also allowed in the commercial medium, but not the commercial large. So it is kind of like a little bit of a headache seeing what type of gas station fits in what type of zone, because they're not always consistent in commercial or industrial. But they would actually, for what they're requesting, have to down zone to a more of a commercial use. think more about fast food, retail convenience, there's some auto-related uses, shopping, more of a commercial use than an industrial use. They are in an industrial zone right now that kind of relates with the warehouses you see to the north of them.
And I know this is really maybe for the next docket, can we talk, because I think it's important, on the 600 feet and the intersection and your interpretation of whether this, I think the staff report indicated that you can make an argument that this is considered an intersection, and I just would like to clarify that as well.
Yeah, I view this as meeting the intent of having gasoline stations located at intersections. You have the on-ramp and exit ramp for I-65 that kind of crosses both of these parcels. Part of our definition of intersection is interesting because it gives you a measurement to measure from the center line of the intersection. Well, that measurement doesn't even make it out of NDOT's right of way because NDOT has taken so much right of way on either side, which they often view as a precaution in case they're going to alter the road, that want to have some control over that area. So the road center line definition for an intersection with the radius didn't even make it to a property line. It fell somewhere in NDOT's right of way. But I think the intent of that was for it to be talking about uses that will be at these intersections. So as a precaution, we did include this with the dimensional variances that were proposed.
I mean, I think as we look at the criteria and with the evidence presented, I think there's arguments on both sides. You know, it's clear gas station, convenience store can go into the site from a competition or whatever you want to call it. That's going to happen one way or another. Mr. Prime's point about the condition peculiar to the property, the strict application. I do think there's been some arguments into why that exists with the right of ways, with the inability to do anything with this land for a very long time. It's interpreted many ways. So appreciate everyone's testimony for us tonight. All right, I will take a motion to adopt or to admit all the evidence in the record. Thank you, Ms. Spears.
Chairman, I move that we admit all the evidence presented in regard to this matter, including the notices, receipts, maps, photographs, written documents, petitioner's application and attachments, petitioner's detailed statement of reasons, the staff report prepared by the planning department, certified copies of the Unified Development Ordinance and Comprehensive Plan, testimony of the petitioner, city planning staff, and any remonstrators, and all other exhibits presented, be they oral or written, for consideration by this board in regard to this petition, and to include the testimony of those present this evening.
Motion by Ms. Spears, second by Mr. Mull. All those in favor, raise your right hand. All opposed, same sign. That motion carries 4-0. I will take a motion on the docket itself.
Chairman, I motion that we approve the request for the use variance in order to operate a gas station, vehicular gasoline with convenience sales at the undeveloped parcel on the northeast intersection of I-65 and East Main Street.
With any conditions?
Oh, I'm sorry, with the condition that the signage shall comply with section 10-03-08 L2 gasoline sales signage requirements unless the variance is granted by the Board of Zoning Appeals.
Motion to approve with the one condition on the staff report. All those, or do I have a second? Sorry. Second by Mr. Mull. All those in favor, raise your right hand. All opposed, same sign. Motion does not pass, nor is it declined. Mr. Foster, remind me, what do we do in this situation?
It would be reset until additional member is appointed. So we would continue on over the docket for our next scheduled meeting.
You think we'll have
That is at the discretion, well, it's the planning commission would vote on a member. It's not necessarily dependent on the planning commission having a new member appointed. It's if the planning commission. So unless, as a practical matter, someone changes their mind between then and now, because the planning commission obviously meets after the BCA, unless you guys vote on somebody tonight, or the planning commission, then the likelihood of there being an additional member at the next regularly scheduled meeting is low.
Okay, so what I heard is we will need to continue this until there's a new member appointed to the board.
Yes.
So motion ties 2-2. And do we need a motion to do that?
I, it doesn't hurt to make a motion.
Take a motion that we continue this till we have a fifth board member. Motion by Mr. King, second by Mr. Moll. All those in favor, raise your right hand. All opposed, same sign. That motion carries 4-0. We will,
Can I ask a very practical question?
yes, Mr. Brown.
I have 4 individuals who travel from Atlanta to be here. Do we have any idea when we would know? I mean, will we know 48 hours in advance? Will we know 2 weeks in advance? How far will we know in advance of what happened for Mr. Brown, his client as well, so they know when to show up?
Very good question. I would assume we'll have at least 2 weeks notice.
I do think also, as far as the public and demonstrators are concerned, they'll need to know when this is going to be on the agenda again. I would maybe recommend doing is naming a specific date that you would like to continue this to, with the hopes of having a 5th member at that time. That way, all of the notice information, everything would carry forward.
I don't disagree, but can I ask a question back to Mr. Brown? How much notification do you feel you would need for your members there?
Well, I'll speak for myself very selfishly, and then I'll ask my clients. I have a standing conflict on the 4th Monday of the month, and so that's a challenge for me.
Okay.
But how much advance notice do you guys need?
As soon as possible.
Yeah, they'll make it work, whatever, we're given 10 days, 7 days, 10 days. So,
And then Mr. Prime, any objections to any, okay. So the only thing I would say is, since we really don't know when there'll be a member, can we say the first meeting of a month following the appointment of a new member with a minimum of a week's notice? Does that seem reasonable? Because otherwise we're gonna throw a date out there that we don't really know if it will or won't work, and then we may have to notify
Might be
everybody.
extending it
that
and
we're
extending it and extending it.
Is that,
Are you still on commission tonight?
No, that'd be Sean. I think it's a practical matter. You have to actually give it a hard date. You just can't say it whenever this happens.
okay,
So,
so
but
we're
they always
the
file
first
continuous.
Tuesday, we're second Tuesday in January, so do we want to set it for the first Tuesday in March?
First Monday.
First Monday, did I say Tuesday? I'm already a day ahead.
And could we just place it for the next meeting and continue to?
Well, he's already
continue it?
said he can't be here at the next.
Well, he could be.
No,
In two meetings, and then if you still don't have a member, continue it to the next one, still don't have a member.
Yeah, I'll say, if you set up for your next meeting, the first meeting in March, if you are gonna have it, we know in advance, we won't schedule anybody, you know. So the plan commission, is whether you have their agenda or not.
We could set it, so you said you couldn't make the second,
Yes.
but that's what this is, the fourth Monday, right?
Yes.
But typically you cannot make the fourth Monday, okay. So we could do the next one, which is in 2 weeks.
Yeah, the 13th, and then we need to continue it, because you don't have, when does plan commission meet?
They meet tonight.
yeah, right after.
So I mean, I guess that's true. We can set it for the first Monday in February, the second Monday in February.
13th.
which is the 13th. If there is no one assigned tonight, then we can let you know and we can do a continuance to the second Monday in March.
That'll be scheduled on the schedule, so.
Is that reasonable? And do we need a motion to do that?
Yeah, yes.
Motion to move to the 13th of February. Mr. Knoll, second by Mr. King. All in favor, raise your right hand. All opposed, same sign. That motion carries 4-0. We will move it to February 13th. If no one is assigned, we'll get plenty of notice that we're going to continue our, we'll continue it. I don't know if that needs to come from them or you, but someone will request a continuance ahead of that. So that we don't have everyone here.
We should have an on-hold business next week.
It would be, yes.
And 47 needs to be.
Yes.
If council is wanting 47 to also continue.
Yes, so I would say we would recommend continuing 47 because without 46, we really can't act on 47. So if everyone has a
I'm
member,
glad they class, I apologize, but yes, I agree.
look. Can I have a motion to continue 47? All to February 13th?
Yep.
Second by Ms. Peters. All those in favor, raise your right hand. All opposed, same sign. That motion carries 4-0 to move BCA 2022-047 to the old business on February 13th.
So 46 ballot, leave.
How will that procedure go? Will we restart all?
Can go one or two ways. I believe the new member could potentially just listen to the record from this hearing, and that way he would have the evidence. And he can make a decision based on that. So that would just be something we'd have to set up for that, whoever that member is set up with them before they come.
Okay. Right, we do have a report. So
Ballot.
Just leave it.
you'll leave it.
Just
Do
leave it
you-
It's still part of the.
Yeah, we
you
still need to sign
notice
it and mark your vote.
Okay.
Yes.
So motion.
Apologize for the confusion. We don't run into this situation very often in my 20 years, so make sure we get it right. All right. We have no news, any new business from the floor? Seeing none, any announcements?
No announcements.
Nothing from the corporation council.
Motion to adjourn.
So,
Thank you. Thank you all.
okay, I'm presenting. This is trying here. A ballot. A ballot. We'll find a ballot.